Welcome back to another episode of Exploring Shasta County History. I'm your host, Jeremy M. Tuggle. Today at a very historic site here within Anderson at the site of the historic Wells Ferry. Nobles Trail, Emigrant Ferry. We made ready to start for the mines. 12 miles on the other side of the Sacramento River. We crossed the river in a boat and came to Clear Creek. Toston Kittleson Staybank. I believe that's how I pronounce it. 1852. But this is a historic marker here. And so this ferry does date back to 1852. And I will dive into the history pretty soon. But this is the plaque that's here today. Trying to find some mooring pins and stuff on this side, but everything was taken out by the construction of the Anderson Free Bridge when they were building it. Everything here is very modern. And we'll see what lies and awaits for us on a piece of property that's called the Sacramento River House, which is on 15 acres of land, maybe a little bit more. I believe they added to the property just recently, but owned, like I was saying, a friend of mine, Scott Swindeman. This map here shows a surveyed Mexican land grant belonging to Major Pierce B. Redding, called the Rancho Buenaventura, who was the first European-American settler in Shasta County. His land grant consisted of 26,632.8 acres of land, and on this map, and upon his land, was situated parts of Noble's Emigrant Trail, as well as the historic site of Wells Ferry, which is presented in this video here. The historic Nobles Emigrant Trail, a trail which was blazed and routed by William H. Nobles, opened in 1852 as a safer route and an easier alternative from the Lassen Trail, led travelers, wagons, pack trains, and freight trains using this route into Shasta County. Three men named Drury D. Harrell, Samuel Francis, and Charles Smith established a coal ferry approximately 5 miles below the mouth of Clear Creek and along the Nobles Emigrant Trail, where it crossed the Sacramento River at that location in 1852. It took its name from the trail system it was situated on while transporting travelers, wagons, and freight teams across the Sacramento River at that location on this watercraft. This ferry was also known as the Emigrant Ferry. Immigrant. This location is now the present-day site of the Sacramento River Bridge, approximately 1/2 mile north of Anderson. It was also a mile over from the U.S. government ferry, which was another ferry in operation nearby. In those days, there was a law in California which forced ferries and bridges to be a mile apart from each other. A dissolution of co-partnership dissolved Harrell's partnership with Francis and Smith, which warranted interest from a man named Ashbel S. Wells to purchase their interest in the ferry and co-own it with Harrell for a short time. Then in 1853, Wells acquired full ownership from Harrell, which is when this ferry became known as Wells Ferry. By 1854, Wells and another new business partner by the surname of Sturgeon took on ferry operations at this location. It is not known how long Sturgeon's affiliation with the ferry lasted. On December 21st, 1854, Ashbel S. Wells married Eliza Carpenter in Shasta County, and she bore Wells 2 children. Both children were born to them at the ferry site. The first child was born in September of 1858, and the second child was born to them in October of 1860. Wells sold his ferry through a local businessman, Lawrence Garrett of Shasta, in 1870, who helped him sell it by September 26, 1870, to William A. Jackson, who placed notices in the Shasta Courier newspaper stating that he would apply to the Honorable Board of Supervisors of Shasta County at the regular term to be held on the first Monday of November 1870 for a franchise and license to keep and conduct a public ferry on the Sacramento River in said county on a point of said river known as Wells Ferry. On May 11, 1872, the Shasta Courier newspaper of Shasta heralded the following article: Whirlwind. A terrific whirlwind passed by Jackson's Ferry on the Sacramento a few days ago and completely demolished an old frame building near the ferry and carried the planks, rafters, and shakes out of sight. A brush fence which lay in its course was taken up into the air and whisked entirely out of the neighborhood. When the gust passed over the ferry boat and river, the boat rocked and swayed, and the water foamed and bellowed like unto the ocean, when vexed by the lashing of a wounded whale. During the 1880s, Jackson erected a ferry house which was built on this location overlooking the ferry crossing. However, Scott's Windman claims that it was built in 1875. For 34 years, the Wells Ferry catered to the public as a toll ferry. When its ferry operations came to an end in 1886, with the completion of the Anderson Free Bridge, which was built on contract with the Vilas Mill in Shingletown for 50,000 feet of lumber and any additional lumber if needed for the bridge project. After Jackson's ownership of the property, other owners began renting the historic ferry house as a rental place, a tradition which Scott Swindman carries on today. During the 1890s, my maternal great-great-great-grand-uncle, Vint Wayne Stevenson, rented the property from its owners and lived on its land during that time period. Vint's wife was Laura Maud Cross Stevenson, who bore Vint 4 children during this union. Their children were born to them between the years 1890 and 1903, respectively. The Stevensons' only son, Thaddeus Yvonne Stevenson, was born here at this historic ferry house in 1892. Many family reunions and events were held here on this property for my family. The Stevenson family has been a pioneering family of Shasta County, California since their arrival date on May 10, 1884. In 2015, my family and I had a chance to stay a weekend here at this historic ferry house, which was a great vacation experience for us at a local resort. I definitely suggest a weekend stay here. The entire 15-acre property has been owned by local real estate broker Scott Swindman since 1996, who rents it out. This Victorian-era style Wells Ferry house is now known as the Sacramento River House. And of course, private property, no trespassing, no loitering. So this is Sacramento River House, historic property here that my friend Scott Swindman owns, and we do have permission to be on that property today with him. So this is just a preview of what the property looks like. folks, for those of you who are wondering, this is Scott Swindeman, owner of the Sacramento River House property, which sits on the historic Nobles Immigrant Trail, and also the owner of the historic site of Wells Ferry here, who's about to show us some of the remains that he found on the property from that ferry. All right, Scott, filming. On you.
So, when we first bought the property 30 years ago, some 30 years ago, all the bottom was berries. And when we got the berries out of there by hook and crook, we discovered these 3 cables going down into the ground. So my sister-in-law Joanne and I dug it up one day, and when we got about 8 feet down in the ground, we found this dead man. And the dead man is an anchor.
Right.
And this cable, as you can see, is it's wire rope, but it's also galvanized. Come on, Pete. And so the question is, did they have galvanized wire rope in 1854 when this all went under 53? And so I went down to Cascade Supply and they researched it for me, and galvanized wire rope was invented by a German guy in 1812. So as you can see, it's really rudimentary stuff we see today, but it is definitely wire rope of the first degree. And then it was hooked on with a really archaic fitting right here. You want to get a look at that if you can?
Yeah.
So this stump was perfectly intact when we found it under 8 feet of soil. Since then, it is deteriorated from being in the open air. So my next thing I'll show you is when we get over to the house, I'll show you the pulley.
Let me film the rest of this.
Yeah. That is the dead man that they anchored the ferry to.
Okay.
And this was down, I'll show you where it was, down in the bottom field down there.
Okay.
Came up the hill to a big, no, go on, Pete, to a big tree. It had a really nice old pulley.
Okay.
And it went from that pulley all the way across the river. So we have that taped off because we had a big mulberry tree fall right in the middle of that. We just replanted it. It needs to grow before April 1 because there's a wedding here on April 1.
Gotcha.
Let's go get the alarm and I'll show you all of that.
Sounds good.
And let's keep moving. Everything's budding out.
Sure is.
These are all plum trees.
Okay.
Planted by the pioneers in the old days. And these are black locusts, and those are they're planted for their axe handles and shovel handles.
All right.
We've got a whole bunch of them staking down this fence.
These are huge.
Yeah.
Black locusts, huh?
Black locust, not to be confused with Chinese locusts.
Gotcha.
These are a real dense, hot burning firewood too.
Wow. So my family and I last stayed here at this Ferry house July of 2015. Built in the 1880s. And I'll let Scott give the rest of the history.
Well, this portion of it, these two rooms were, as I'm told, built in 1875.
Okay.
And then they added onto it a number of times. The interesting part is the attic, which is really a classic attic. It appears that they salvaged every board that floated down the river and nailed it on the house to build the house back then. And then, when we took a portion of the wall out to put a slider in, the wall was filled with newspapers from 1892 to 1912.
Wow.
And so we saved them, and we tried to give them to the Historical Society, but they said if they hit the air, they will be done. So we filmed all of it, and Costco made this book. And
Very cool.
It has got it's got some of the greatest articles. You might just want to film this first one, which is a classic. Ghouls attack the train. Kidnapped the wife of the Pullman car company.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it's got all sorts of classified stuff. Oh, maybe that's the Ghouls one.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah. It's interesting. The politics are about the same as they are today, just different names and smaller amounts of money being misused. So we have all sorts of stuff here. I love this photo.
Oh, yeah. Mr. JFK himself.
And Larry Carr.
Yeah.
Larry Carr's son's memorial redwood tree is planted in the front yard here.
Cool.
And that's Ken Carr, one out of 9 Carr children.
Right.
Yeah. I was actually there when Kennedy dedicated Whiskeytown Dam.
So what do you remember of that?
Oh, it was great. What I remember was you had picked up the bus at Shasta High School, and they drove you out there. And as you came down the highway past the visitors station down to the dam, there were mounted posse. Like every 100 feet, there was a posse up there with a rifle. Nobody was going to get to JFK. And I remember the choppers coming down across Whiskeytown Lake. I think there were 5 of them. And they landed on the dam, and he gave this wonderful speech, which is still there recorded for you to listen to if you haven't. And it was just a happy, happy time. And then a couple months later, he was gone. Yeah, this was 1963.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your memories.
Yeah. So we just have all sorts of stuff up here. Those are my 3 daughters. So, obviously, this is the living room, and this is now a vacation rental and a wedding venue. And we have internet and TV, obviously, and the kitchen is fully appointed. Sleeps 9 people. Great air conditioning, great heating, big fire pit, golf driving range, horseshoes, pool, ping pong, you name it. It's just become a wonderful stopping place for a lot of people.
And 15 acres, or at least that's what it was back in July of 2015.
It was, yeah.
I understand you added on to it?
Yeah, now it's 18 acres.
Wow.
Yeah. And soon to be.
Beautiful, historic piece of property you got here.
Thank you. So this little backdrop for the wood stove was built by Jim Hubert and Dave Burton. of Huber and Burton masonry. And
All
they
right.
built that one morning, the day before my first tenants showed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful work.
Yeah. And it's really some interesting stuff. Like here's the Baird fish hatchery, which was at the confluence of the McLeod River and the Pitt River before the lake went in.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the rivers down there, but that's a
Gotcha.
wonderful shot of it. Okay, Pete, you gotta go. Come on. Come on. Pete, come here. Come on.
All right.
And if you're interested, that was a photo given to me by Jody Burgess, who fortunately was my attorney and fought the county on an eminent domain lawsuit they filed against us to build the bridge. And it worked out in our favor because Jody caught them falsifying the CEQA document, and then we ended up getting paid what the property was worth.
Wow.
Thank God for Jody Burgess, who's now a judge.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. So the kitchen, one of the two original rooms, this room and that room, and this was a built-in dresser in the master bedroom, and we took it out of there, brought it out here, and doubled the size of it, made an island out of it, which ended up being a much better use for it.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So 9-foot ceilings, fortunately. Those guys were paying attention back then. And that attic is up above these two rooms. Unfortunately, you guys are too big to crawl in there. But we are going to put a staircase up there
Okay.
and access it at some point.
And this is one of the.
Yeah, this is the master bedroom.
Okay.
That's the neighbor's dog out there barking.
Wow.
So when we bought the house, it was literally on the ground. It was all painted black on the inside. And that was 30 years ago. We remodeled it back then, and we've remodeled it a couple times since.
Wow. And once again, I'd like to remind you guys that this was the original 1880s, 1875, according to Scott, but Wells Ferry house.
Right.
And you're getting a pretty rare look inside a vacation home that you can rent.
And Jeremy, that was a closet back then when we bought the house.
That-
We thought
wow.
we just got to throw a bathroom in that closet, and it came out.
Oh, you sure did. Wow. Definitely a piece of Shasta County history. The structure. There's Pete.
There's Pete.
I remember staying in this room
Yeah.
back in July of 2015.
And the laundry room. You probably remember that.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely remember this. The entire place.
Jeremy, when we bought this house, the floors went like this. And our carpenter, Dan Abbasicea, went under the house and he pulled all of the piers. And the house went
Wow.
as good as you see it now. And then he replaced all the piers. And I mean, it still rolls, but it's not like it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Beautiful work.
Yeah. So in this hallway, this is our aerial photo. Shows the original property, and now it includes this. And we're just getting ready to buy this piece right here too.
Wow.
So you can see where the bridge crosses, but it's not public access on this side. That's on the other side. Yeah. Did you find the
I did.
parking?
We found the plaque, found the parking. They got it fenced off on that side, but it's still accessible from atop the bridge on the other side, going down underneath to the plaque.
Good.
So yeah.
Good. So here's the area map, and there's only one thing of interest on that map, and it's Kent's Market, because they have everything that you could ever need.
That is very true. Really good food too.
Yeah.
For those of you not local.
Today's the barbecue, by the way, if you guys want to stop there.
All right.
There's the other big bedroom. That's what you call a spoiled dog. He used to be in the house.
Now, in case you're wondering, I will have a link to the Sacramento River House website through my YouTube channel connected. So, in case you do want to rent this out, you can give the owner a call and say, "Hey, what weekend are you free?"
That's it.
All right.
And here's the second bathroom, which has a shower and a tub.
Beautiful. Wow.
This bathroom was actually built by Jerry Peters Construction before we bought the house. It was the only room standing. And Jerry, as you can tell, did wonderful work.
Sure did. All right.
This is just kind of a little area of interest. This is that's a map, Shasta County prior to I-5. Although I-5 is noted. My brother found this in the basement of the old courthouse before they tore it down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then this is really interesting. One of my brothers and I were four-wheeling up off Lower Springs Road back in the 60s and found this in an old mine shaft up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is how serious we were about protecting this great nation back then. Nobody messed with the United States. So let's take a walk out back and I'll show you some stuff there. Let's get the lights there if you would on the left hand side. Make Pete happier, let him run down to the bottom. Hopefully he's still got his tennis ball.
I remember playing many games here.
Yeah.
We were staying here, eating dinner here and all of our meals, and it was a nice local vacation from home.
Yeah. Yeah. You had 3 generations here.
We did. My great-grandmother, my mom, me, yeah. So,
Yeah, super.
yep.
So this is the driving range of the first hole. You can see the flag stick down there. And we supply the golf balls and the golf clubs, and you can just flail to your heart's content. Yesterday, I made the mistake of thinking I could drive my dune buggy through that pond right there, and I made it. But when I got out the other side, my head was covered with mud about that high, as was the rest of my body.
Oh, wow.
So here's the pulley I was telling you about.
Oh, yeah.
There.
Look at that.
This out of the way. Okay, Pete, look at it. Look at it. All right, there you go. Can't get through there. And this is a memorial to my mother.
Did you find the pulley at the same time you found the other thing?
The pulley, this tree, was right in the middle of where the deck is now. And it was a huge tree. It was like one of those. And Greg Caldwell, who's a friend of mine, who's a logger and timber faller, came over, and this tree was hanging over the house like that. And he cut it and started putting what do you call it, the little shims in it. And that tree straightened up. It came right down the house like that. And we'd taken those boards out of the fence, and it fell right there and didn't even break a fence post.
Wow.
And so we cut that out of it before the tree went down, so we could build the deck. The rest of the tree's still underneath. Okay, so if you're interested in a wedding here, typically the wedding occurs under this arbor, and there's parking here for 300 people, and they have outdoor or indoor functions depending on the weather. Did you want to shoot the spot where the dead man was?
Oh yeah.
The log that we filmed
Oh yeah.
up there.
Okay.
The cables on it. It was right in the bottom here.
Gotcha.
And my sister-in-law and I were sure that there was going to be a treasure at the other end of that cable. Much to our disappointment.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh-oh, he didn't find that one. That's good. We can leave Pete right there.
Get the area here. All right, I don't know if I got you, but can you say that again?
I see, so the bride and her father would come from here
Uh-huh.
and walk to the groom.
Gotcha.
All of the visitors would be sitting on both sides witnessing that.
Beautiful.
Was that grape growing on top?
No, it's oh, what is this stuff that
Wisteria?
yeah, wisteria.
Wisteria.
That's it, yeah. It flowers out, it's really pretty. So Jeremy, do you see any green grass coming up here?
Yeah,
Good. Good.
sure do.
That means
It is growing.
let's go take a look at the barn and then we'll jump in the truck.
Okay.
So I think that little garage was probably Model T era.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So this barn was built in 2015 for my daughter's wedding.
Uh-huh.
And from that wedding, all of the vendors asked us if there would be a potential for future venues here, and the answer was yes, and we've had a lot of weddings since.
Wow. All right.
Get some more lights on here.
Wow. Pretty spacious.
Yeah. It's got a full kitchen.
I'll be darned.
And we set it up so there are 3 dedicated circuits there, so you can cook as much food as you wish. And there's power all the way around it. Air conditioning, it's heated. Got this 1936 wood stove there. And 1895 doctor's carriage.
All right.
Upstairs, there's a full bathroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 1936 stove.
This came out of a building that Jim Zauer and I owned on Market Street.
Oh yeah.
2136 Market, and this heated that building until we sold it in 81. And we dragged this thing out of the basement, and it sat in the shed for 30 years until we built this and brought it down here.
Wow.
It's a wonderful heater. Yeah.
That's where they kept all the toll fees for the ferry, right?
That's it.
All right,
exactly
that's
where it
safe.
was. Yeah. And there was a skeleton in there when we opened it.
Oh, really?
It was the last toll. So full bath upstairs.
Wow.
And a loft.
And you said this buggy was?
1895 doctor's carriage. And it's in really good shape. Everybody wants to have their photo taken with that. Isn't that right, Pete? Yeah. So I had these lights installed, big lights to see. Oh, yeah. Because I couldn't see well enough to see anything in here. So we put those lights in, it just lighted up the whole world.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I love the ambiance of those.
Yeah.
I like those. Yeah, that's cool.
Last weekend, we had a memorial for a guy named Jack Mackey. He was 80, but in the early 70s, he was a hang glider.
Oh, okay.
And they brought his hang glider up and they display it right up there to see what that's. It was really, that was cool. That's my new buggy.
And of course upstairs.
You guys want to watch? I got it in the refrigerator if you want. All right, I'm thinking it. I'll get you one on it if you need. This is my last time I've enjoyed that. I used to park all my stuff up there. Netflix, walk on the sidewalk, and eyeball all of it.
Well, I'm just saying for like the wedding venues and stuff.
If it came down to really inclement weather, yeah, do it. And if we had a wedding right here, hi Jeremy.
Hello.
So let me show you where the original remnants of the Anderson Free Bridge are.
Okay.
Robert, we're going to have weddings down here at some point, and then they can park all their cars here and have all their chairs on the downslope. Oh, beat's going off. So as I understand it, this is the route. This is where the Emigrant Trail was, and the Free Bridge replaced the Wells Ferry. And if you look here, you can see this is one of the vertical standards from that era, that bridge, and it's still intact. And you can see they used real steel back then. And I would imagine there are others here, but this is the only one I found.
Okay. All right.
It would be interesting to dig it down and see if there are any inscriptions on that steel.
That would be.
As mentioned earlier, the historic Wells Ferry was replaced by this bridge which is shown above. This is the historic Anderson Free Bridge, circa 1886, which is when it was completed, and it was built from lumber from the Vilas sawmill in Chingletown.
All right, where to next?
Let's throw one ball for the dog, and then we'll go over and look at the boat dock and where I think the moat was. And you guys are welcome to go swimming too if you like.
Dive in first, Robert.
You gonna throw the ball for me too?
Yeah, I'll do that. God, I'd hate to think that would inspire you to do that.
That was great. I got that on film. I'm leaving it in. You dog, you.
Hey, no, I get the chance to be a comedian.
Yeah. You know, there is other concrete now that we say that, throughout here.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not sure if it was left over from their staging bridge, which was right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Sad commentary. Some fishermen came down the river in a drift boat, and he hit the staging bridge. All three of them went in the river. These guys working on the bridge ran down. They had a boat. They went out and they got two guys, but they didn't have any more room in the boat. So they asked the third guy, "Are you okay?" He said, "I'm okay." So they brought him back to the dock, went back out, and he had died by the time they got there from exposure.
Wow.
Yeah.
And once again, I'd like to remind you that this is private property, so please don't trespass. Make sure you obtain a permission or get the rental.
There you go. One other interesting point, before the bridge was built, this bridge, that oak tree is 300 years old. And it went up all the way up over where the bridge is. Fortunately, they only cut half of it off. But beyond that, there was a fig tree that had 100-foot wingspan and had the best figs that you could ever imagine. Unfortunately, they took that out in about 5 minutes with the D8.
Wow.
And it didn't come back, but it was a beautiful thing. We'll go around all this stuff. So looking back towards the house, the original cable for the ferry stretched across this field to a pulley right on the back side of the house and then down to an anchor, a dead man, on the base of the hill.
Which you saw earlier in this video.
Yeah.
You imagine a ferry coming across this point at this location on this river?
You sure you don't want to go swimming? So this is the boat dock established by ourselves some 20 years ago. Everybody that has a property on the river is allowed to have their own boat dock.
All right.
Okay.
Now, have you found any iron mooring pins down here? I have to ask. I may already know the question, but
I have not, but now that you've enlightened me on to what I'm looking for, we'll be watching more closely.
awesome. All right.
So don't know for sure, but I think this man-made geographical feature probably accommodated the ferry, cold weather, high water. And if you'd like, we can walk down the other end and I can show you how it all bleeds into the river.
Sure.
Okay. head on out if you want, Jeremy, or we could just walk around it.
That's all right.
It's pretty cluttered in there. It won't be long before all of this black locust is down. Is in the wood pile. Better than oak wood even.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's an oldie.
Yeah, what was that used for?
That's a property line.
Property line.
Yep.
So how old is this property marker?
I don't know the age of it. It was here when we got it 30 years ago, but I think it's probably, you know, it looks to me like it's probably been there for 100 years. Hey, Pete.
That is old.
It is really old, yeah. That hole, Robert. That one would swallow you up. Don't want to get a
Oh yeah.
rattling shot of that. There are golf balls everywhere, I think.
Originally, I was thinking, to me, it kind of looked like an old roadway, possibly leading down to one of the old ramps of the ferry. That's what I thought, but you're saying...
Don't know that you're not right. I don't know. It's just, when we get down here, you'll have a,
Sure.
a feel for it. It also could have been a sheep barn, you know? Put your ceiling joists right over the top
And no, we're nowhere near the Anderson Cottonwood Irrigation District now, so that's...
possibly in the old days it served it, but we're not in the district now. We have a wonderful well that was hand dug. It's 27 feet deep, and it produces 100 gallons a minute.
Wow. And how old is it?
You know, it appears to me that it's been here forever, because the building itself, the row house, has had 3 different applications of siding on it.
Okay.
All right, Pete. You're gonna be sleeping now.
Maybe you could show us that.
I will.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. We saved it because it's how the house was when we bought the house.
Gotcha.
Matter of fact, I saved an old panel of the house.
Oh, cool. So that's the start of it here.
Yeah, so this is where, you know, whatever it was, seems to have originated. And it was clearly carved out of that big property.
It sure was. Definitely man-made.
Yeah. And probably by hand.
Wow.
So this is the well house. Before we go there, one thing that I forgot to tell you earlier is they brought all of those Conestoga wagon trains across on the Wells Ferry. They assembled all of them in that field, and then they pulled up. They crossed the Clover Creek right here on a wet crossing and pulled up, you can see the slope,
Oh yeah.
onto the Emigrant Trail. And that was the legal access for this parcel until 1979. Everybody used the wet crossing to go across right there. And it's still there, it's still viable.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's the present day bridge. This is Clover Creek, like Scott was saying. This is an original portion still here today where wagons
forged Clover Creek, across those rocks, and an original portion of historic Nobles Immigrant Trail. Came right on up here. You can still see the cut. Looking back, you can kind of see how the route took once you left Will's Ferry. Now, Airport Road, according to Scott, is the original Immigrant Trail. And that's why it comes out at this portion here. But originally came up through there that way.
So let's go take a look at the well house. We're not sure when the well was dug, but it is a very old well. This was the third application of siding. Before this, it was shakes. Before that, it was tar paper. And since then, as you can see from the house, it's all stucco. But we kept this so you'd have a feel for the original product. Uh-oh. That key is not going to work, but you don't really have to see in there. The well is there, and you can see it coming out the top.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you for contributing
Thanks,
to my
Robert.
channel.
Appreciate it.
In collaboration with Robert and I. So,
yeah, good stuff.
all right. I will send everybody to your website. And once again, like I said, please do not trespass. Make sure you get permission. This is private property, or rent it for yourself and check it out.
Yeah.
All right.
That'll work.
All right, folks. You heard it here on Exploring Shasta County History. There's Pete.
Yeah. Last word.
All right.
No,
Catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
you.